ended up finding out that the windows weren't tinted, they weren't painted, they were black trash bags. It evolved from heck no to hell no. So she's standing at the bottom of the stairs, just looking at me.
Welcome in, everybody. This is Rob from Oops All Ghosts. We have another awesome guest here I've met and talked to on Reddit, and I can't wait for him to share his story. Tony, how are you today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I am feeling awesome. The fact that we get to talk today and hear your story, like from your words, I'm pretty excited. Your story is about a job you did working as an electrician.
Yeah, it's a heating and air guy. Yep.
A heating guy. Awesome.
Yep.
Would you like to start from the beginning for us?
Yeah, do you want me to retell everything from the beginning, kind of in my own words?
Yeah, anything
Okay.
you remember from it. I may have some questions throughout, but I'll probably leave them till the end.
Okay, absolutely. Well, this took place now probably about, I want to say 2.5, 3 years ago. I just got started out in the heating and air field, learning my way. Yeah, I got paired with another gentleman, and we were a pretty decent crew. I mean, we worked very well together, and we never really had any instances where we felt like we were combating each other on a job. We worked very well together. But this particular day, we went to the office as normal. Everything was normal. Picked up our equipment for the day and went out to this call. Now, in my story, I specifically state that you can either get one of two houses. You can get a house that's absolutely amazing. They take care of the house. They take care of themselves. Or you can go to just a dump. A house that's run down. Yeah, I call it house broke. Somebody that bought a house that can't afford it. And this particular day, we went to a house that somebody probably couldn't afford, but it'll make a little bit more sense as time goes on. But we went into the neighborhood, and first thing we saw were super nice houses. And the one that we got was just the one bad one. And my buddy, or the crew lead at the time, he was saying, yeah, he's like, of course we get the one bad house. And yeah, it happened more often than not, unfortunately. Well, we pull into the driveway, and normal procedure, lead goes, introduces himself to the family or person. Then I go grab tool bags and get set up. But with how the house was, it was very eerie. The house itself looked okay, but the windows were solid black. You couldn't see in them. The front yard was overgrown. There was decorations in the yard that looked like they had been there for 20 years. The driveway was all busted up concrete from big oak trees with roots coming under it, cracking the concrete, all that stuff. And the trees too, they were super overgrown on her side. Never been trimmed, and it just kind of created this tunnel-esque look to the detached garage that was in the back. Now, my buddy, the crew lead, he went and introduced himself, and I stayed at the van. Now, like I said, I typically grab the tool bags and stuff and start to get set up, bring the bags around. But I didn't this time, mainly because just something didn't feel right. Something felt out of place, and he went up to the front door, and I had noticed that the door itself didn't open, but barely 6 inches at most from where I was at. And yeah, he introduced himself, talked to her for about 2 or 3 minutes, came back to the truck and kind of looked at me weird, gave me a look of uncertainty, very concerned. That's a better way to put it. He looked concerned. And I'd asked him, I said, what's going on? He just kind of looked at me with a side eye and walked away. Told me she wanted to meet him around the back of the house. So I got the tool bags and stuff, walked around. And this house in particular is on a very, very heavy grade, which means the back of the house is taller than the front. So the back had a normal door that goes into the basement, which there is a garage type area. It's more like a workshop that you walk directly into. And then there's a half wall that separates this room from the other side, which is where I was working in particular. Now, the very first thing that I noticed walking into this house is it is incredibly dark. There's no light. I mean, I had to go in with a flashlight because there were no lights. You turn the light switch, nothing turned on. So I walk in, and just as I walk in, the homeowner had actually went upstairs, and I walk around the corner to the crew lead, which will call it, his name was James, and he asked me to just kind of get set up and start tearing everything out. Again, it's very dark, so I didn't get a really good look at his face, so I couldn't tell you if he was, if he had a weird look on his face. So I started tearing everything out, and everything was going fine, but the whole entire time, I felt as if something was off. Something felt weird. I was just super uncomfortable the whole time. And you'll get that feeling kind of early into your career, going into random people's houses, being there for hours, all that stuff. But this one in particular had a different feeling. Something felt very off. Now, the piece of equipment I was working on was being illuminated with a little job lamp, which is just one little bulb with a silver shroud, and it just illuminates a little space. That's what I was working with. And every time I turn around, the space behind the light, the backdrop, was solid black. I couldn't see anything. So it almost felt like I was in an interrogation room. And I'm pretty sure that's actually the words that I used in the story that I wrote. But the backdrop was solid black, couldn't see anything past it. Well, I turn around, and I'm cutting a couple wires and stuff to get it out of the way. Well, when I cut a wire, it was actually live. So sparks fly, lamp turns off because I tripped some sort of breaker. So I get up, walk to the breaker panel, and I flip the breaker. Now, the other weird thing was the breaker I flipped that was tripped was the only breaker that was on. The rest of the breakers in the panel were off. So that tells me that either one, she's weird, she wants to conserve energy some way, which, doesn't work like that. But maybe in her mind it did. But I flipped the breaker back, and the moment I turn around, the homeowner was standing there. She didn't say anything, just peered at me weird. And she was about 5 foot tall, maybe. She was old, mid to late 80s, I would assume. But she didn't say anything to me. But as I turn around, she just didn't say anything. And the only thing I could get out was, hi. And not a word. Not a word. She just looked at me. She smiled, and then she walked away. Now, the weird thing was as she walked away, she made no sound as she walked. No sound. But she was walking. I mean, you could tell. I mean, she had hard tennis shoes on. So you'd be able to hear her walk pretty well.
Was, the house creaky? You walk through the house. Would it be a noticeable step, or...?
Yeah, well, where we were at, it was a concrete slab. In which, obviously, you wouldn't make a ton of noise walking on a concrete slab, but you would make something. She made no noise. Nothing. Zero.
Wow.
And you're talking about the creaky house. Well, when she walks upstairs, she made some noise, but not a lot. And later on in the story, there's a particular part about her walking around upstairs and all that stuff. But she walked back. I got an eerie feeling, so I went to take a break for a minute and came back. It was about a 10-minute break, but came back, finished up a couple things, and I got to a point with installing the new equipment to where I actually needed help with something. I didn't really understand how to wire up a particular part inside of the furnace, so I just left it alone, waited for our technician to get there that was going to help us out with that. And so James took a break with me because it was around lunchtime that this happened. So we sit down, ate lunch, all that good stuff. And about that time, the technician got there, which his name's Arnold, and he was a really, really good guy. He's like-minded like me. He's a Christian man. We have very similar beliefs in how everything works. And that's kind of how we socialized and got along, is we kind of hit a couple points with each other that we just understood ourselves and each other. So he walks around to the back of the van where we were just finishing up eating lunch, and he has a very cliche sense of humor. He walked around, it's like, "You leave anything for me? You get anything for me?" kind of thing. And we said no. And I guess that was his way to break the ice, because I think he felt a little odd being there too. Yeah, you could kind of tell. But James stood up and he was talking to him about the job we were at, what else needed to be done. And then he mentioned the homeowner, kind of explaining her appearance, what she was like, and all this stuff. And he was just kind of just blew it off. He didn't really care. He's just kind of like, "Oh, you're scared of a little old lady, blah, 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 blah." And James looked at him and said, "This is not your typical old lady, but we'll let you figure that out." So we get to the point where we're getting ready to go inside, all three of us. But I went inside because I'd forgotten something. I want to say I forgot my wallet or my phone or something. I don't know. So I went downstairs real quick, grabbed it, came right back out. I was maybe gone a minute, if that, 30 seconds. So all three of us go around the back of the house to walk in the door that leads into the garage or workshop area. And our tool bags, James and I's tool bags, are sitting by the door. Now, I didn't put them there. I know for a darn fact that James didn't put them there. So somebody packed the tool bag up perfectly and neatly and sat it by the door in a way, obviously asking us to leave. Now, I got spooked big time. James got spooked big time, and he saw it, turned around, and sped walked back to the van. Because him and I had both just had this eerie feeling the whole time. And Arnold had no care in the world about it. He didn't care. He was just like, "Oh, y'all are trying to mess with me. Y'all are trying to scare me." And James comes back and he's like, "Dude, this isn't, we're not trying to mess with you. Like, we didn't do this." And Arnold being Arnold, he just kind of blew it off, didn't think anything of it, and he just walked right into the garage. So we go around to the unit, get a couple things fixed up. We're setting up kind of the wiring schematic, following wiring schematics, wiring a couple things up, getting the equipment set up and ready to run. So we begin to go upstairs. Now Arnold leads the way, because at this point James and I are just we're mentally checked out, because we just don't like it. And we've been there for about 6 or 7 hours at that point, and we were done. We did not want to be there. So Arnold leads the way, and he opens the door from the garage into a separate sitting room, which for my area, that's very normal. Your basement is garage and then another living room. It's just space that they used up. And in that living room type area, every piece of furniture, everything, I mean, there was an old arcade machine in the back. All of it was covered in this white plastic. And it was just like the horror movies. I mean, you see the horror movies where every piece of furniture is covered in this white plastic. It's clear white plastic with dust and stuff over top of it. And it was just eerie. And the feeling that James and I had to begin with got even worse after we opened the door, because we hadn't went upstairs the whole time. I mean, we had no interest in going upstairs, nothing.
And like,
so,
your bags up front, like that didn't change the vibe, or did you find there was a change in the vibe when you noticed your bags at the front door?
Well, I would say there was a change in vibe, but the problem is we were already so freaked out that it just added on to the feeling we already had. So we went from even more of oh heck no to even more so. It evolved from heck no to hell no. So we were very done. I mean, we were not. We were clocked out for sure. I mean, we couldn't do it. But Arnold being there kind of gave us this extra push to get the job done and get out of there. So, open up the door. Arnold leads the way, and he yells or hollers up the stairs, "Ma'am, we're going to come upstairs and we're going to install your thermostat." And We didn't get a response. Nothing. But we heard somebody walking upstairs, so we assumed, yeah, let's go ahead and go upstairs. Because typically we like to get validation to come upstairs to be able to obviously enter their personal space, so we're not just invading their privacy. Even though we are at their house, we still like to get that permission. So we walk upstairs. Arnold's first, James is behind him, and then I'm in the back. And as we're walking up the stairs, we get about halfway up, and I get this just overwhelming feeling to look behind me. So I look behind me, and she's standing at the bottom of the stairs, just looking at me. Now, again, she's a little old lady. She's wrinkly as hell. And the way she's looking at me, she's looking up the stairs. And again, there's no light. We have our flashlights out because none of the light switches are working. And we look down, and her eyes, she's basically a solid black silhouette. And her eyes are glowing with this dim white light. So everything's black besides her eyes. And I'm just freaked out. Yeah, I'm just overwhelming feeling of just get out. And I look up, I tap James on the shoulder. I said, she's behind me. And he looks at me and he looks over my shoulder and he sighs and he goes, there's nobody there. So I turn around and sure as the world, there's nobody there. But I had this thought in the back of my mind. I was like, where was she hiding? Was she hiding in that room? Where was she? How could she have just appeared out of nowhere? And who is upstairs? Because we had the impression that she was going to be the only one at the house. Well, about that time, Arnold gets to the top of the stairs and he says, hello, are you Miss Brown? And she responds with, sure. Now, if you're any normal human being, if somebody addresses you as, Miss Brown or Mr. Brown, your first, if they're asking that's who you are, of course you're going to respond, yes, that's me, or yes, or whatever. Not sure. Almost implying that there's a possibility that you're not.
Like, what is the John Smith situation,
yeah. I mean, it was just, and kind of go off track here for a second. In kind of my life and, all the studies and stuff that I've done on either the supernatural or some sort of demonic or spiritual realm, a lot of the times when there's a form of possession, the person that is possessed will actually refer to themselves as it or as something other than Mrs. Brown or Mr. Brown, for instance. So it kind of later on in the story, I mentioned the thoughts and stuff that I was having as I was leaving, that she was possibly possessed, but we never knew. I mean, we never really looked into it very much. Didn't really have an interest to look into it because that was probably one of 2 or 3 times that I've ever had a face-to-face confrontation with a spirit or a demon. I've had, kind of throughout my life, I'm in my mid-20s. All throughout my life, I've experienced a couple of different things, and, there's been a couple of things that I just can't explain, to be honest with you. But, when she said sure, it kind of went back to those studies, like, that's a very abnormal response to have, especially for somebody that is possessed or under influence by some sort of spiritual possession, is that they don't refer to themselves as that person that they are embodying. So he responds, we go up the stairs, and he gets one light to turn on, and it's an overhead light to a stove in the kitchen, which is right around the corner from where the thermostat is that we need to put up. So he talks to her, he's asking her where the thermostat stuff is at, and I'm freaked out. And at this point, I have this almost sensation in my feet to just let my body do the walking and leave. So We walk upstairs. James and I stood in the kitchen while Arnold put the thermostat up. And the whole time, this old lady is just staring at Arnold. She is completely freeze-framed. It's almost like you hit pause on a movie. I mean, she is perfectly still staring at him as he's putting this device up. And James kind of looks at me weird. And he finishes putting it up. He was like, all right, thermostat's up. I'm going to teach you how to use it. And he, in the middle of him saying that, she completely interrupts him. And this is the first time I'd heard her speak. And she says, how many kids do you have? And immediately, I'm just, I just got this, like, what the F? Yeah, like, what in the world is going on?
Goosebumps just hearing you.
Yeah, and it almost, I don't know if you've ever been so scared to the point to where you have tears in your eyes. That's the point that I was at. I mean, I was so freaked out and scared when she said that I'm like, I froze, got chills, and my eyes started tearing up. And I didn't know what to do. And she said that to Arnold, and she starts naming them. She said every single one of his kids' names. And she said, there's one more. There's one more kid, isn't there? There's one more. And he just kind of looked at her, and he was like, excuse me? And she had mentioned the child that his wife was pregnant with. Now, not a lot of people knew. It wasn't something Arnold went flashing around, because I want to say his wife was only at probably a month pregnant, maybe. But nobody really knew because he wasn't going around telling everybody. And I knew, mainly from mid-conversation with him, and he went from having like this defensive dad mode to being scared. I mean, you could look in his face like, how does this lady know?
Go from like calling out his kids to the like, how does this lady know that we're expected?
Yeah, exactly. Because from just from being attentive, she had no technology, no devices in the home, no TVs, no computers, no cell phone, no nothing. I mean, typically on the job file, we're gonna have tidbits of information like her cell phone number, her email, all that kinds of stuff. There was nothing. There was no way to get in contact with her. It was just show up to the house and hope she's there.
Oh.
And so there was no nothing. And she says that, and James books it. He books it down the stairs, runs out behind me. I mean, he's done. He just took off. And I'm standing there because I'm just completely froze. I can't move. I cannot move. And Arnold, he's the same way. He's just standing there. And she looks over at me, and I'll never forget this till the day I die. And she says the name of my unborn child 3 times. And 3 times. And I'd never told anybody that we actually had a name for her. And at the time, she was my ex. We were split up. And when she said that, that overwhelming feeling of just almost dread, like just I do not want to be here anymore. And after she said that, I froze even more. And Arnold, he wasn't moving. He was petrified. And I finally got the nerve to start just moving. I just went downstairs, ran down the stairs, through the door, picked up my tool bag. Don't even know how I even thought to pick it up, to be honest with you. I guess it was just habit. So I picked it up, ran out to the van, sat the bag down, and got into the work truck. And James is sitting at the driver's seat, and his exact words were, "Getting the F out of here." And about that time, Arnold comes sprinting past the van. Now, Arnold's, with all due respect, Arnold's not a small dude. He's a pretty big guy. This is the fastest I've ever seen him run in his whole entire life. And he gets to his work van, he drives away, and we take off out of there. And we're typically supposed to pick up, collect money and stuff for the job, but we didn't this time because we just didn't have the patience. Yeah. And kind of make a long story short, because the end of this is, I'm not going to say it's redundant, but it's just kind of puts it into perspective. So the next day, James and I didn't talk about it at all. We refused to talk to each other about it. I had texted Arnold nothing that night. Nothing. He didn't even text me. I think it took him 2 days to respond. And we get back to the office and we get called in because we didn't collect the money. And the boss is asking us questions like what happened, and then James just goes into a spill, starts telling him everything. And he had no care in the world. He just looked at us and said, "Y'all didn't collect the money." And kind of at that time, we were just like, "All right, well, this dude doesn't, he doesn't really understand he doesn't understand the magnitude of what's going on. I mean, this was pretty crazy. We borderline quit our jobs because of this, and you're just gonna sit there and just ask us if we collected the money."
Yeah, why would 3 grown men not want to collect the money from this job?
From this old lady. That was kind of the whole thing. The whole entire time was, it was an old lady, harmless on the outside, sweet until you got to know her. And to this day, we don't talk about it. And this has been years. I've moved on to a different job title, same thing as James, and Arnold is actually at a different company now. But we don't speak about it at all. Never mentioned it, never talk about it. I think maybe once I've said something about it, but if that tells you how scared we were that day, that should tell you.
Nope.
3 grown men won't talk.
Oh, wow. I got so many questions for this. I swear, hearing the old lady, I got goosebumps all the way down my spine. I'd be out so much faster than you guys. Wow.
Yeah, to be honest with you, man, I don't understand. I really don't know why I didn't take off either earlier. I mean, I should have ran before James ran off, and James ran off before Arnold and I.
Yeah, and to have that third person there and the mood change for him as well. It sounded like he was kind of jumping in all fresh perspective, and then to get called out like that. I couldn't even imagine a scenario where a stranger calls out your entire kids.
Yeah, your whole entire bloodline. I mean, it was that in itself, because to this day, I don't know how. The only thing that makes sense is that she was possessed. She was possessed by a supernatural being, and that's how she was able to know all this information. Because she knew James and I were coming, but she didn't know Arnold was coming. Arnold was a last-minute decision because we needed help. And so for her to have premeditated this and to be able to collect all this information at one time, to almost develop a scare tactic, I don't know, in a way to not pay, I don't know. But she didn't premeditate this. This was on a whim. I don't know how, but yeah. Oh, and another thing I forgot to mention, and this is just another tidbit that kind of just makes it a little bit weirder. I mentioned before the house had black windows. When we went inside, we ended up finding out that the windows weren't tinted, they weren't painted, they were black trash bags taped around the window sills, blocking every bit of light that goes in or out. So either she was protecting herself from the sun, she didn't want to be hit by the sun, she didn't I don't know, or she was doing something inside of that house that she didn't want anybody else to see. We also were getting this super odd smell, which I didn't mention it in the story because, to be honest with you, I wrote that story probably about a year ago, and I've never published it, never released it, nothing. Never had anybody until I had, kind of just decided one day I'm gonna start releasing all these stories on Reddit. And now I know now that it was actually a sulfur smell, and sulfur is a immediate piece of evidence that there's some sort of demonic or dead spirit present. So I'd mentioned it before, but I didn't mention it in the story. But she definitely, some sort of demonic possession was going on. Some sort of possession was going on that I just can't explain.
Wow, so the smell, the eyes, the just like almost disappearing, like when you guys were working on the stove, like was she already there to kind of like watch, or did she just like appear out of nowhere?
No, I mean, well, when we walked up there to put the thermostat and stuff on, Arnold had greeted her. So I'm assuming she either had walked around the corner or she was there in the area whenever he walked up there. Because when James and I got up there, they were already talking. So honestly, I don't know. And I would have more information with you if the two other gentlemen would talk about it, but it spooked them. It spooked them bad enough that they don't talk about it at all, ever. In another piece of information, James actually, like maybe a week after that, started going to church.
He was never a church man until that day.
No, he was against it. He didn't believe any of it, and then after that day, he was like, nope, I'm going to church now.
Get it? Yeah, no, honestly, I'd be calling on a higher power too if I was ever put on a situation like that. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So you said there was an arcade room there, and as soon as you guys opened the door, like everything kind of like flipped the switch on your story. Like, what was that energy like? Like, are you able to like remember the feeling?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. Again, this is something I'll never be able to forget. So as soon as you walked into that room, into that living room where the arcade machines and stuff were, we had went from this, this lady's creepy, this house is creepy. We walked in there to, like, it just feels ancient. This house feels like nobody's been living in it for years. And that feeling was only amplified when we walked upstairs to find, that all the furniture upstairs was old. Everything was old. The stove, the microwave, everything was just super, super old, but all in great shape. I mean, it was almost like walking into a time capsule back from like the 60s. And it just felt old. It's the best way I can describe it. And everything just felt really old and ancient, and just, I don't know. But it went from feeling like this place is creepy, I don't want to be here, to just everything felt, it felt like we stepped back in time and we were stuck in like this particular era of U.S. history. Because I mean, she, even as far as she had JFK calendars on the wall.
Wow, it's cool how history like holds that presence. I was just talking to another person who found his old house had the railway system, or part of it, like where they kind of kept people. And he said the same feeling, like undisturbed old presence to it.
That's interesting. Huh.
Oh man, I had another question there. What was it? Now it's on the back of my head there. So you've been researching this stuff. Is that something you've always been into, like researching there, or is it like after this situation?
Well, before it, I had looked into it a little bit, because I'd be lying if curiosity wasn't my worst enemy. And it kind of, reading a couple different stories and experiences from other people with similar similar interactions or confrontations, and yeah, I mean, I'd studied it for about 1.5 years, 2 years, and just on and off. And I'll use this as kind of direct example. Even if you go to, like, say, the Holy Bible, there's a couple things in there that talk about, ancient, evil priests and or spiritual deities or spiritual possessions that are eerily similar to what I experienced. So there was things obviously on the internet that you can look up, or there's hard evidence and textbooks about the supernatural, and obviously holy text is like the Torah and the Talmud and the Holy Bible. There are multiple things in all the spiritual texts that mention things like that, and obviously like the Quran, the Torah, all that kind of derives from the same kind of spiritual belief system esque. I mean, they all kind of coincide with each other, so they kind of follow a very similar type story, but obviously they do things differently. But when it comes to historical events that they talk about in those books, they do talk about spiritual possession and or demonic possession, and again, a lot of that kind of coincides with my story. There's a couple things that make sense and line up.
Like your line of work, like that's dealing with a lot of people's houses, like kind of going in and dealing with their heating and stuff like that. Like, have you ever experienced something close to this?
More or less, like this, not exactly. I've never been what I felt like was face to face with a demon. I've never had that feeling, or I've never had that interaction since. I've had similar instances to where you just go into how, I mean, I've across my career, I've probably been in tens of thousands. I mean, I couldn't even tell you how many houses. But no, I mean, I had one instance where I went to a house of this gentleman that had, he had photos of Baal, which is I'm trying to remember this, but Baal is just he's a demonic entity that, like, the Satanic Temple and actually Scientology worship, and they almost use Baal as a way to tie in the supernatural and humanity to, I'm not going to say make sense, but they tie it in together to almost make it this, we are one with the supernatural. And this particular house I went into, I mean, not to get too graphic, but he had photos and stuff of like either his partner or his wife in lingerie, and I'll just leave it at that. It's a lot more violent than that, and nude all over the walls, with pictures of Baal, the demonic entity, also all over the walls. He had incense and stuff that he would burn, which is also another. It's a demonic ritual that people will perform to summon a demon. And as well as he had, what else he had? He had old Polaroids stacked up, and I didn't see any of them, but the title of the box where the Polaroids and stuff were at was rituals. So I don't know. And there's a lot of people that say that you can see the supernatural through a camera lens. So taking photos and stuff, you'll be able to see ghosts or entities or something like that. And people claim, and I've never tested it and I never will, but if you use a Polaroid during some sort of ritual or trying to find some sort of ghost or something like that, you actually use a Polaroid camera to catch it better. Apparently, it gets it in such a frame rate, a shutter speed on that Polaroid camera that it captures entities and spirits a whole lot more effectively. Yep.
Wow. find stuff like that, like usually like that's tons of people coming together and be like, we're getting experiences through this camera. So I'm always interested in finding this stuff, and then like for you to walk into a house and see it in this laid out in somebody's home.
Yep. Oh yeah. And that was, more or less, that was kind of the premise of the whole. It felt like that was the premise of the whole property. It was almost. It felt like we were in a studio. We were being watched. We were being set up, and it feeling like we were straight out of the '60s. I don't know if. Yeah, and this crossed my mind too, and I don't know if this lady unfortunately has been possessed since the '60s, or possibly. I honestly, I don't know, because like I said, it felt like we were stepping into a recording studio to be filmed or mocked or something. We were being set up,
almost like a show in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it literally, like you could make a movie out of your script there entering this house. Jesus.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of insane. I used the Truman Show. Like that's a good example.
Right. You said your boss like shipped you back to go get the money. Like, did you have to like meet with the old lady again, or what happened after?
I didn't go back. So what actually ended up happening, because I know now. So James or I neither of us went out. We refused to go back, and actually James ended up getting wrote up because of this. Since he was the crew lead, it was his responsibility to collect that, to collect the money and all that stuff. And he didn't go back, and I didn't go back. So come to find out, they sent a collections officer, but it was a part of our collections department for people that obviously refused to pay, and sent her out there to get it. She ended up getting it, but she swears up and down she didn't get anything weird. So I don't know. There was really nothing after the day that we went. Never heard anything.
Wow. So yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't want to go back, and your boss fighting you. That's a whole thing together.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, it sounds like you got a little bit of the story of what happened there afterwards, but
yeah, I mean,
leave it a mystery now, right?
Kinda. I never. I mean, I know the lady's name, and I'd be lying if I said I haven't looked her up before, but I didn't find anything weird. I mean, the only information I got about her was that, ironically, she was born in 1968, and that would leave her at the time. Oh Lord, now I got to think about this again. But that would leave her at the time, it would make sense how her house and stuff was set up. Almost feeling as if we were straight out of the '60s, with a calendar in her house with JFK. I mean, it was out of the '60s. Well, I can't emphasize that more. Like, I'm pretty sure the appliances and stuff were from the '60s.
Jeez, just sitting in history right there.
Mm-hmm. And it's crossed my mind a couple times too. Maybe the calendar and stuff was symbolism or something along those lines to almost her possession time, where she was possessed. Yeah, because a lot of the times things like that will get missed, and they don't. The possessor doesn't feel the need to change the time on the calendar or anything like that. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe she's been possessed since the '60s. I don't know.
Who knows how long? Like the fact, like you were saying, you guys were going up the stairs, and you saw her at the bottom of the stairs doing creepy stuff, and then it, like from what I heard, is she was upstairs.
Yeah. So exactly how it went, is I saw her at the bottom of the stairs midway up. And I'd obviously got James's attention, told him that she was behind us after we had heard her upstairs, and turned around and there she was. But James didn't see her. And then about the time that James was like, dude, there's nobody there, and I turned around and looked behind me, Arnold was actually addressing her upstairs.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez. The whole thing, like you're saying, like it was almost like the silhouette of her, and her eyes were the most like prominent things glowing.
Uh-huh. So I don't know if it was a premonition, possibly, of herself that she was using to almost watch us to make sure that we were going upstairs. I don't know. I have no idea.
Jeez. Is there anything like you carry with you after dealing with that situation? You know, like somebody was telling me like putting salt around a back pocket or something to have on hand, or
I carry a Bible everywhere I go, which I did that previously, but I wasn't on my own. So, um, as soon as I got my own truck and I was in charge of my own crew, that was the very first thing that I had done was I put a Bible in my work van, and it's still there to this day. It's actually in the window. It's literally on the dash of my van.
nice. That's right. Keep it there, almost like nice and loaded in case another situation like that happens.
Yeah, let me just go out to my truck real quick. I'm gonna get this Bible and we're gonna get you.
Bam! Right out of
Yeah, yeah,
the department. Love
yeah. We're gonna have an exorcism right here.
wow, definitely. Oh man, thank you so much for sharing your story. I've killed about an hour of your time here, and I'm so glad you could hop on and share it in person. Thank you, Tony.
Yeah, not a problem, Ryan. I really do appreciate you taking the time to talk to me. If you want, like we talked about before, I'd be more than happy to share other instances and other stories with you. But there will be kind of instances where I won't be able to go into various detail because outside of this one, there's very few that I have that I've written about my personal experiences. So, um, if you ever want to speak again, ever have me on again, I would be more than happy to talk to you about other stories and other instances.
Yeah, I'd love to chat with you, Gad. Is there anything you'd like to plug in before we hop off here?
Uh, Not particularly. The only thing, and I don't do this at all for fame or recognition. It's part of why I'm doing this 100% anonymously. Um, is I feel as if there's a story to be told from everybody. If it's a very small story about how you were heartbroken at 18 years old and you still haven't been able to forget about it, or things like this to where you've had this crazy spiritual encounter, or it's just a psychological or some sort of story that you feel as if you need to get off your chest. I feel as if everybody has one, and I would love to tell it. I mean, this is definitely I'm very I love doing things like this, and this is I don't know. I feel like I have a passion for it, and I feel like I'm okay at it, telling a story, maybe writing it down. It takes me a little bit of time to get it done, but there's a story to be told in everything, and everybody has a voice.
It's really cool seeing different perspectives and ways like people's lives go out because the world's so vast and so different.
Mhm.
It's amazing hearing these stories.
Oh, absolutely. And there is so much that we don't know about. I mean, the world is nothing but unknown because we tend to put ourselves in this bubble to where we almost get too comfortable in the situation that we're in, and we don't reach out. We don't have this personal experience with other people, and we don't have these conversations. And it's a part of why I really appreciate what you do, because this is definitely a good way to get those things out and to show people they're not alone in certain aspects of life. And it's definitely awesome, and this is what we're missing, I feel, as a society, is sitting and talking and having these conversations. So again, I really do appreciate what you do. I mean, this is awesome.
Thanks again, Tony. I'll have to be in contact and we'll have to set something else up again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Have a good day, buddy. Thanks again.
You too, bro. Yeah, not a problem.
Bye now. Wow, that was awesome. What, like, that situation's so real. It's not just like something in the corner of the eye, but like a conversation there with your job. Like, have you guys ever been in a situation like that? So, another person, a demon, whatever it was, it creeped the heck out of them. Like, my favorite part is doing these, like, you hear the person tell the story live in their own words, and like the way they word it is so real and so raw. It's like he said, like that conversation, the opening, the humbling, and just hearing it and taking it as is. You know, I'm just saying, I love this stuff. Anyways, guys, that was the interview for today. We're gonna hopefully have another one next week there, or another Reddit time. So, thanks for hopping on, guys. You can check us out on YouTube, Spotify, Amazon. We're slowly getting to all of your podcast ways, but YouTube is our big one. If you guys want to hit us up too. It's oopsallghosts at gmail.com. So oopsallghosts at gmail.com, and we'd love to have you on to hear your story. We'll be doing more Reddit ones this week. Our latest episode came out last night, where it is the second today. So yeah, some awesome times just chatting to people. Thanks again to all my guests and people who stuck around. Anyways, have a good day. Stay